For over 70 years, British comedy has woven itself into the fabric of our national consciousness, creating stars and helping to shape the universal television viewing experience. Comedy can be as diverse and wide-ranging as life itself, and British comedy's rich landscape epitomizes this. So please, don't adjust your set. We'll take it from here if you're not being served as we explore the wide-ranging and often bizarre world of British comedy with some of its best-loved stars exclusively on Beyond the Title.
Writer, actress, impressionist and singer-songwriter Jess Robinson graced Beyond the Title in 2022 for a celebration of the art of mimicry. The creator of the award-winning Stars in Their Ears, Jess has recently been back on the road with her new live show, Your Song, based on the hits of the legendary Sir Elton John, in which she reimagines his back catalogue in the style of a whole host of different artists. I reconnected with the award-winning entertainer and podcaster to talk heroes, radio and more recollections from a remarkable career in entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Jess Robinson. So, Jess, welcome back to the podcast. Last time you were on Beyond the Title, you teased us with news of a possible TV collaboration with Lee Francis. What happened to that?
Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to think how long ago I was on it. But so we had done at that point, I think, or were about to do a sort of reboot pilot of Bo Selector. But it didn't get commissioned. But we had a week of so much fun where I was playing Amanda Holden and oh god, all sorts of people. Some people from oh, my brain's gone, from Stranger Things. Oh, I've forgotten the name of the pop star. She's on The Masked Singer. Rita Ora.
Okay.
Rita Ora, and we were taking the mickey out of Gogglebox and loads of sort of modern TV shows that weren't around when Bo Selector was first on, and it was so fun. And although that never went ahead, we ended up going on a national tour. So it was me and Lee, and it was so much fun. It was mad. It was, the audiences were, I think, madder than all of the characters that we were doing put together. Some of them, it was really raucous some nights, and there were some like proper punch up some nights, and it was just so much fun. It was hugely fun. It felt very rock and roll, and quite an experience. So I think that was the last time I was on. Right before that,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, lots has happened. Yeah. Yes, there were some that were definitely not allowed to be done again, for sure. Otherwise, we would have been cancelled. Yes. Yes, we were all playing. Oh, I played Stacey Solomon as well. It was more respectful this time, let's say, even though it was completely disrespectful. But you know what I mean.
And you've had a very busy summer with your new show, Song, celebrating the back catalogue of Elton John, reimagined by a whole host of different voices. What was it about Elton that made it possible for you to create a narrative for the show?
Oh, that's a great question. I wanted to find one artist whose songs I could reinterpret as different people, and I was thinking about Amy Winehouse, but I felt like her songs and just she as a person was sort of used enough, and I didn't want to be another person, just sort of, it just felt a bit, and it just felt a bit too sad as well. And then I was thinking about Adele and Lady Gaga and the Beatles, which you never know. I might be able to afford to do their songs one day, but Elton John, because he's male, that gives everything a different slant to reinterpret it as a female. But also, once I started looking into his songs, because I've been a fan of Elton all my life, but not like a super fan. I've fallen in love with him more and more by exploring his songs and realizing just how many incredible hits he's written that I've known, that have been in the back of my head all my life. But and then the musicals and all of that stuff, he's just so prolific, and I have such respect for him and the way that he keeps going and the way that he supports younger people coming up as well. I just think that he's a really admirable human being, and he does a lot of good as well as is a creative genius.
Um, when we were watching your show, it occurred to Josh that in the early days of entertainment, performers were always required to have more than one string to their bow. So how do you think your prowess as a singer offers you a more rounded approach to your comedy?
Oh, that's a cool question. Do you know what? I was talking to my mum about this, and in our family, we all have always done more than one thing. So, being good at more than one thing. So, as well as the singing, I can do the impressions, and that adds another level. And then the impressions sometimes lend themselves to being really comedic, but sometimes if it's someone like, I don't know, Billie Holiday or Judy Garland, or Amy Winehouse, it's more of a sort of a tribute. So it doesn't have to be so, it doesn't have to be funny. It just can be beautiful for the sake of it. Um, and I like storytelling and getting to know the audience. So it's not just me and a microphone and then the audience and I'm telling lots of jokes at them. I like to sort of bring everybody in and get everyone involved. So I think it's sort of added an element where if you can make people laugh, but you can also make people feel something with the music, it sort of connects people, and I really like that. And now I can't even really remember what the question was, but I've given some sort of an answer to something.
Do you think it also works the other way around?
Yes, yeah, it does. It does work the other way around, because when you've got that sort of comedic, that comedy bones or whatever, or you're looking at things from a comedy slant, it can make you really push the impression or really listen to particular things in, I don't know, Kate Bush's musical style, where you can sort of just take it a bit further so everybody recognizes those funny elements, and we're all laughing at the recognition as well as just the funny voice, if you see what I mean. So you can just take it a bit further, I think.
The Edinburgh Festival, we were speaking about it earlier, has historically a significant rite of passage for any comedy heavyweight. Do you think this is still the case?
Interesting. I don't know if it is. There's such a pull towards social media now as well, but I don't know. I don't know many sort of comedy people that have transitioned from social media to live comedy. I don't know that, but I do know people that have transitioned from social media to TV comedy, like Lucia Keskin, Chi with a C.
Yeah.
She's done brilliantly. But I think it's still quite unusual. Edinburgh used to be a place where you would go to try and get discovered. And when I was there, in my first year was 2013, that it did help put me on the map, but so did doing Britain's Got Talent. So it was a combination of things. Now it doesn't, I don't think it has the same it doesn't have the same potency that it used to. because there are just so many people. It's got so expensive. I don't think it even has the same amount of journalists going up, or the people just that aren't there, just general people going about their everyday lives, might not necessarily know about it in the way that they used to, because there's so much else going on Instagram, online, and loads of things that we didn't have before, perhaps. God, I sound really old.
We did oh, oh, was young, yeah, yeah, I who's really he was telling he didn't need
Josh did a podcast last year with a young comedian, and he believed that he'd said that he didn't need to go to Edinburgh to help out there.
I think that is the case now. It's so expensive to go up. I think putting my show on this last year was £25,000,
Wow.
and that didn't include accommodation for me.
Okay.
Luckily I could stay with my cousin, but for many people that's like another 3 grand or something.
Yeah.
And Oasis were up. There's always some excuse or something that sort of slightly gets in the way, and you just never know what's going to catch people's attention. But I think that first weekend particularly, that was difficult because there wasn't the same amount of people there, and there were a lot of tourists as well, and a lot of them didn't even know about the festival, even though it's everywhere. But because of that, I think that affected numbers for the show. So we still haven't broken even. So it's crazy. It really is. I think I only broke even on my very first year in 2013, and things have changed a lot since then. And I didn't have a professional PR person, and I didn't have a professional producer. I did it all myself, and I think that made a huge difference. But also, it was so stressful because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So yeah.
Do you think, on the flip side of that, with the reputation that it's got, with comedians that do go, if they maybe don't have a great set while they're there, can it push them back a little bit? Whereas now it's not pushing them forward as much as it used to.
I don't know if it can particularly push people back, unless, well, it can push you back mentally for sure. But if there's someone there that's doing not a great set, I guess if they do get reviewers in, if they're a big name and they get reviewers in, then I guess rubbish reviews can be a bit damaging. But generally, if you're up there, it's so hard to get noticed at all, that if you have a bad set and you're not doing an amazing show, whether people come or not, or it sets you back, it probably isn't that much of a thing. Lots of comedians go up there with quite a bad set, and then they grow throughout the festival, and they learn and change it to what the audience responds to as well. So lots of people use it as a sort of a work in progress or a prep before they go on tour, which is interesting.
Oh, God, really? When stuff more he really great down but he won't go he earned a lot more to be little cake from his
Josh's got a good friend that does all his sort of like live shows for him.
Mhm.
He's a stand-up comedian, and he said that he's better off doing like small gigs where he is than taking a gamble on going up to Edinburgh,
I
especially with
think,
prices.
yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And if you're doing small gigs around where you are and you get an audience around there, that's brilliant. It depends what you're going to Edinburgh for. If you're going to develop a show, then that's one thing. If you're going there to get noticed or get lots of press, there are other ways to do it for sure.
Mm.
I mean, and on the flip side, it can be so much fun and so brilliant to have the opportunity to do your show every single night, literally with one day off and just hone it and hone it and hone it. That's great. It's like a boot camp in a way, but it's bloody expensive. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, since you and Josh last spoke, Britain has lost a radio comedy giant. What are your memories of Bill Dare, and what do you think his legacy is?
Oh my gosh. So, Bill, when I was playing Little Voice, so it was my very first ever job doing like any sort of impressions, I sent him my cassette tape. This is how bloody long ago it was. Oh my God. Of me doing Judy Garland doing Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Bassie doing Goldfinger and Marilyn Monroe doing I Wanna Be Loved by You and all of those. And Bill wrote, and I said, "Can I be on Dead Ringers, please?" This is when it was on the TV. And he wrote back and said, "Very good impressions. Thank you so much. But we generally do people who are alive on Dead Ringers." And so a couple of weeks later, I sent him one of me doing Kate Bush or something. And he was like, "Yeah, again, really great impression. But we generally do speaking impressions and politicians and people on TV." And I was like, "Oh, I'm brilliant at politicians and people on TV." I'd never done any speaking impressions before in my life. So I just did a huge lie, but he said, "Okay, well, if that's the case, come in and audition." And so I had to learn very quickly to do, I think I did Sonia from EastEnders, Fizz from Coronation Street, um Terry Hatcher from Desperate Housewives, and I managed to get on it. And had he not given me a chance, I don't think I ever would have become an impressionist at all. I would have just continued to do musical theatre and tried to get into Les Mis and things like that and been a jobbing actor. I would never have taken the path that I took because I really never meant to be an impressionist particularly. I just wanted to get the next job, and I didn't have a passion for doing impressions. Um, so and that he's a bit in that sense like Elton, in that he really was a great lover of helping young people, giving them a leg up and passing that on. So I think that in a way is a huge legacy, because there are lots of people now in the industry and writers from Dead Ringers or his comedy writing courses and things that are going on to be absolutely, integral to the world of comedy, and that's because of him. That's because of him. Um, so yeah, I think that's his legacy, the way that he helped people and gave them a step forward.
Yeah. My, uh, the free home and he was just, no, come.
Josh met him 3 times. He says he's just like a normal guy, just really.
Such a normal guy. Did you have a chat with him?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
was he nice? What was he like?
yeah, yeah. Hey, holy, I met him when John came from him. I actually was in Bahama, and he over and story story and story. Yeah, well, yeah.
He met him when John Coleshaw came over to the island. And
Oh,
they were at the bar together, and Bill had come over and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting." And Josh said, "You don't need to be sorry. You're Bill there."
oh, oh my God. Yeah, Bill's a sweetheart, and John is so lovely as well. John really took me under his wing when I did Dead Ringers, and has stayed a really nice friend throughout. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're nice. Generally, impressionists are very gentle, nice people, massive geeks.
As you know, Josh is a massive comedy geek and is fascinated with trends in comedy and radio comedy. And radio comedy has cultivated a rich legacy of groundbreaking satire. When joining Dead Ringers, how aware were you of the radio satire that had gone before?
Well, because I'd done the last two series of the TV show. Um, I was aware then. I mean, that was when it was really massive, and people would recognize me and say, "Oh my God, were you in Dead Ringers the other day?" And I was like, "Oh, this is very exciting." Um, so I have always been aware of what an institution it was. I don't think I realized, because I've done lots of different radio shows before on Radio 4, but I don't think I realized until I was in the room and hearing how the audience respond to it, just how loved and popular it is. And it really is one of them. It's the best thing on Radio 4, the best comedy on Radio 4, without a doubt. And it gets such a response, and people sort of complain when it's not on and they leave room for other things. But I think it's the most loved thing. And I do wish that Radio 4 would give us more time to be on it, really.
Um, in your opinion, how important is the world of satire to gauging our collective attitudes towards politics?
God, it's just so important to be able to it's so important to be able to give an outlet for people to laugh at the dark and the disappointing and the frustrating things that are going on in the world. And it feels rebellious and sort of sometimes a bit radical to be able to speak out about injustices. And sometimes satire is the only way to do that, and to laugh at things which are really painful. um and it's a bit scary at the moment with what's happening in America, with people not being, being cancelled or not being allowed to speak out about what they really think. It's becoming a bit scary, and I know there are so many countries as well where that is forbidden, and you can't, laugh at the president or the prime minister, or who can't laugh at power, and you can't challenge anything or belief. So yeah, I don't know about. I guess you can see from the response that the jokes get, for example, on Instagram, or you can see how what people's attitudes are to how they respond to the jokes, and nod along and laugh along. And then sometimes it might not resonate, and that would show maybe people haven't picked up on something, or it's not so important to them, I guess, certain areas. Yeah.
And what you say when have the real right on it made it easier for you from the in sit
Would you say that when we've got like characters in politics, that it makes it easier for you to find the funny in a sort of bad situation?
Yeah, I guess so. The funny thing is as well is that I'm really not very up on my politics, so I get a lot of my news from dead ringers. And seeing what's I know that instead of reading the papers, I'll listen to dead ringers, or I'll read the script and go, oh, that's what's going on at the moment. So yeah, it's funny, like there are big characters like Trump and Boris Johnson, and Liz Truss when Jan did that, and people love to hear their stupid voices and love to hate them and laugh at them, and it feels so fun. And then there are other characters like Rachel Reeves, who is a really major player because she's in charge of the budget and everything, but lots of the audience won't have particularly seen her do interviews or heard her speak much, and her voice is quite bland. It's not, she's not got anything a really pronounced lisp or a really high voice or something. All I could find was it's quite low. She's got a slight bit of a like a slight estuary accent, and also she sounds like she's got a blocked nose a lot of the time, and she's quite dull. And sometimes you just have to steer into how dull they are. Yeah.
As a singer and actress, how were you greeted by the comedy community?
So I guess I mainly got to know the comedy community when I did my first Edinburgh. And sort of because the woman who was my musical director back then is Kirsty Newton, and she plays for the Comedy Store Players. And she worked with Mitch Benn a lot and Phil Nickel, and knew loads of people from Whose Line Is It Anyway, because they used to do Comedy Store Players. And she now works with Paul Merton Impro Chums. And so it was really through her she introduced me to lots of people and got them to come along and see the show, and Arthur Smith as well. And they were all really lovely, really friendly. When I did Britain's Got Talent, that was more of a controversial thing, because to comedians and sort of hardworking performers who are already in the industry, it's not very cool. It's not a cool thing to do a TV talent show. Comedy for a lot of people is about being edgy and gritty and doing that sort of shiny floor thing, and waiting to get advice or praise from the very people that they would take the piss out of. Is so that was a double-edged sword, because it opened me up to more audiences, but in the industry it was a very uncool thing to do, so I had to kind of fight that a little bit. Yeah, that was a very strange experience. Anyway, I know we've spoken about that before. So yeah, but then since doing The Last Leg on Channel 4 and singing on that, and doing The Guilty Feminist again, they are the seen as the cooler, edgy things that are more meaningful and sort of that give a voice to marginalized people as well. And so in that sense, I've been very accepted by the people that run those shows.
And I love
Josh, he loves Arthur, Josh said.
Oh, he's a sweet man, isn't he? He's lovely. He's very kind. Yeah.
he
He's a favorite of the podcast, apparently.
Oh, is he? Oh, good. Yeah.
As you know, Josh was lucky enough to see your new show, Your Song, earlier in the year.
Yeah.
As was I. And the thing that struck him was not only did you sing all those songs in the style of a whole host of other artists, but you also gave us fascinating nuggets of information about Elton's relationship with fellow musicians.
Mm.
How much research went into this, and how did it make you view this music differently?
I did a lot of research actually in the beginning. I wanted to find out everything that Elton had in common with each of the singers, and that's how I actually picked them, even though I didn't particularly mention it in the show. And sometimes it was just, about the sort of activism, or the skills, the certain skills that they had. For example, Elton was trained classically, and then I was thinking, well, okay, that's interesting, which singers do I do that have had a classical background? And that's how the Catherine Jenkins and Julie Andrews and Ariana Grande trio thing came up. Or the I'm trying to think what else. And then yeah, there were people that he'd collaborated, like Britney. I'm going to extend the show actually, so I can take it on a tour, and they'll be long enough to have an interval. So I've got to add half an hour, and I've been thinking about other people that I could do, and I would love to do Annie Lennox. I would love to do Dua Lipa because they've collaborated together. Joni Mitchell was also someone that Elton loved, and she loves Elton. I looked at a lot of YouTube. And all of the people that have paid tribute, Gaga paid tribute to Elton and collaborated with him, and just been on those shows where they've covered his songs. Yeah, there are so many.
You remember about looking some
Do you remember about 20 years ago, there was a show where a lot of artists covered Elton John's songs?
Uh
ew.
oh, was it he made an album as well? Didn't Sting and Kate Bush did? Yeah. There was I can't remember what it was called, but you can find some of it on Spotify.
It was hosted by Billy Connolly.
Oh, cool. Oh, I need to look into that. I'm making a note.
Are there, you've sort of noted a couple there, but are there any more artists who you feel deserve this kind of vocal analysis?
I wish I could do Nina Simone, but I can't. I think she's amazing. I'd like to work on my Ella Fitzgerald. There are Beyonce as well, but I feel that if I'm doing an artist of color, then it needs to be spot on. It needs to be respectful, and I don't want anything to be misconstrued. So my Billie Holiday goes down so well because I've honed that and I've worked on it for years, and I think it's one of my best impressions, and it's really evocative and it's moving to people, and so that's a pleasure to do, and I don't feel worried about doing that. But I do think that if I'm going to approach anyone of color, I really need to make sure that it is perfect, or as perfect as I can get it. So yeah, Dua Lipa, Taylor Swift, those sort of people I would really like to do, but I don't find their voices very easy to find something to hook onto. And I do wonder, and maybe this is a lazy thing to say, and maybe I should just look into it more, but I do think that if I heard one of those on the radio and it wasn't announced who it was first, I might not know.
Yeah.
Because there's something a bit kind of generic and produced about them.
Yeah.
I think I would know who Chapel Roan was, though. She's got quite a distinctive sound. So and I know that Elton did a little Pink Pony Club collab with her. So I should probably get her into the next one for sure.
uh, 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 oh,
I suppose it's about knowing your audience.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. I have people of all generations, but there were quite a few sort of 50s, 60s and above that came to Edinburgh on the weekday nights, and then more sort of slightly pissed up people from in their 30s on the weekends. But yeah, there has to be something for everyone. And if you bring your granny along, she's going to know who I'm doing. And if you bring your teenage son along, there'll be something for him as well.
Um, in your opinion, how satisfying is it for an audience to identify with the music and impressions you create? And do you ever change the impressions you make to fit certain crowds?
Um, I think it's really satisfying. It can be moving, it can make people laugh. I think it's really important that they recognize who it is, or if they don't, it can at least conjure an atmosphere or something of recognition, even if they don't exactly know who the person is. But um and yes, I do. There are sometimes I'm doing an impression and I think it's absolutely brilliant and it just doesn't translate to the audience. And if it's not getting a reaction or getting the result that I want it to, it gets cut.
Mm.
Just has to get cut because there's, I mean, some people wouldn't, but I do this because I love entertaining people and I'm a people pleaser. So if they're not pleased with what I'm doing, I don't do it anymore because I don't get the reaction that I want, which is the applause and the approval.
Okay, okay, that's why attention. What you do is hold you when you come to you is you when that was you say only
So maybe that's a good way of gauging sort of how popular what you're doing is and changing it based on the people.
Yeah, 100%. That's what the comedians that go up to Edinburgh do. They'll do their set and they'll record it, and not only for what they're doing, but for the audience's reaction, and the stuff that gets the bigger laugh they'll keep, and the stuff that doesn't get such a big laugh they'll change, or they'll decide the bit that did get the big laugh to like linger on more and explore that more. And yeah, it's really cool and geeky.
Looking back at your career, what are the moments that you think might make cultural timestamps for future generations?
Oh my gosh. None of them. I'm completely insignificant. I don't think there'll be any cultural timestamps at all. I guess the best thing that I've done to date would be writing my book. Actually, that feels like the cultural timestamp because it details me sort of being a early 23-year-old in the early noughties when there were lots of slightly rubbish casting directors around and racism and anti-Semitism, and you could say to people, you look too fat for the part, or you look too Jewish for the part, or we're not going to give you this because you didn't, I don't know, you didn't flirt with the director enough, or that sort of thing might be in some way my little mark on the world. But I am an ant, and I think that if I bring people pleasure, that's great, but I don't think it's gonna be anything bigger than that as far as I can see so far. But no, you never know, I might be made queen and then I'll do it. I don't know what I'll do.
But that it's very my and right and yeah.
That experience must have paved the way for people sort of coming through in what you're doing now.
I hope so. I hope that the way that I talk about those experiences in my book makes young women and the people, you know, that were my age, that are my age, or that are going through something similar, that can resonate with them and make them feel stronger. I talk a lot in that about the things that I do believe in, which are being body positive and being kind to yourself and being open with other people. And yeah, I talk a lot about that in there. And also it's about growing into a well-rounded human and not just being somebody that wants to be famous or wants to do this or that. One of my best day job that I ever had, I did telesales. I did those things where you have to approach someone on the street and try and sell them a makeover and photography and all of that rubbish. Best thing I ever did was go and work in a school for kids and adults with special needs, and I did that for nearly 10 years on and off in between my like my little acting jobs here and there. And that was the best thing because that taught me kindness and patience and, you know, just getting out of your own head and looking at after other people. And that's the thing I feel most passionately about, actually. I think if I was prime minister, which I won't be ever, but if I was, I would make it a law for every young person when they leave school to do a year working with adults or elderly people, or, you know, doing a caring role. I think that's what people should do. The end.
We'd vote for you.
Oh God, thanks.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
He can do it. I don't know. So the last question we've got is, what's
Yeah.
next for Jess Robinson? What have you got on the cards coming up?
So Life is Rosie is my book, and that is out on the 29th of January. And that's going to be in Waterstones and on Amazon, and you can pre-order it now. And if you do, that will count towards my first week of sales, which will get me on the bestsellers list if I'm very, very lucky and enough people do it. So that would be very helpful, please. So that, and so in January and February, there's going to be hopefully a good amount of press around that, and I'm going to do a little book tour. Then in April, May, I might be taking my show. This is all in sort of in the works, but I'm hopefully going to be taking my show to Australia. And then I'm going to take it back to the Edinburgh Festival. I think we might rebrand it just as Elton Reimagined rather than Your Song, just so it's really clear what it is. And yeah, and then do a tour next autumn, this time next year. And in the meantime, I've got Spitting Images back on, so on the web series, so I'm doing lots of characters on that, and I think that's it. Voiceovers here and there, the odd kids stuff, and yeah, just staying out of trouble.
You pre-order the book?
Where can you pre-order the book for people?
Amazon, Waterstones. I think it's called thebookshop.org, or if you just go to my website, jessrobinson.co.uk, and go onto the book link, you will find all the details there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been so lovely to chat to you again, and thanks for having me and being so supportive always. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much to our wonderful guest for being the subject of another Beyond the Title episode. If you like this, why not browse the website and see if there's anything else you like? We're now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Everywhere, quite frankly. Don't forget to like our Facebook page to receive updates on forthcoming interviews, and please do give this podcast a little share. Not in a shoop-shoop song kind of way, you understand, although that's probably quite welcome. Thanks again. Hopefully see you next time. From all of us here, goodbye.